Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. You caught me picking a cat hair out of my coffee mug. What's up, Cody?
Not too much, man. How are you?
Doing good. Trying to wake up a little bit. Haven't had any coffee today. Figure I'll start drinking some at 9 p.m. Eastern.
No coffee today.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, I got a dad bod topic for you that I didn't plan, but I'm just curious.
Oh, shit.
I've been on a big kick of this the last, I don't know, just for a little while. Do you guys pre-make your coffee the night before, like set it all up like an old person, so it brews at 7 o'clock or 6:30, whatever, the next morning, or do you make it in the morning?
It usually gets made in the morning. Yeah.
And
usually Jess is awake before I am, so it's usually made when I get up, but she does not set it in the morning.
Exact same in our house, like that my wife gets up earlier.
Yeah.
Mostly because she gets up with the kid, I'm not gonna lie. He wakes up earlier than both of us, and so but I'm finally reaching I feel like it's an old person thing to have your timer set on your coffee pot. But it's been a few weeks now probably, and man, it's nice to just you walk out and there's coffee sitting there. It's pretty great.
When in school, and I mean, I promise you, I did not have a fancy coffee maker at all, but it did have that feature. It had the clock feature.
I think they all have it. It is a pretty standard thing.
Yeah. And I used to do it when I was in school because I didn't want to wake up at all. And there was no way I was waking up to wait for coffee being made.
Well, and in the morning, it's just the worst. Like you just woke up, and I'm somebody, I don't know if this probably plays into it too. I'm a jump out of bed person. Like I'm not a snoozer. Like I'm boom, boom, boom. As soon as I like wake up, my alarm goes off. I'm a mover like in the morning. And so it'd be one thing if I was kind of like moping around, like just have a little slower morning and make some coffee. But I'm out there like, oh, come on. And I'm like trying to get the coffee grounds out. I'm like, gosh. So it's just not good for me.
I'm definitely a snoozer. I'll hit that. So question, because like you mentioned it as I'm in the dad bod crew, but I'm not a dad. How does people's children end up waking up earlier than them? Like, how does that become a habit? I never understand.
I know my
that.
problem.
What?
I know why ours
at one point.
No, ours is we're mildly greedy and still like to have our evening a little bit, plus doing a little bit of podcasting. And so his bedtime's 8:30.
Okay, so he's ready to go up at like 6:30.
Yep, that's exactly right.
I get it.
Which I think a kid, he just turned 2. Like I think 8, 9's semi-normal, but I think that's the reason
it's more than
normal.
6:30. Yeah, I think it's more than semi-normal. Right?
Actually, Felix is more right. Let me help you.
Oh, I haven't seen the comments yet. Children under 5 are on demon time. That is great. Felix has 2 young ones. He decided, you know what? We're just going to go for it. We're going to have 2 young ones, 2 dogs. Let's get it all added at the exact same time. Oh, plus we're getting married.
Because how old would Felix's oldest have been? Like, are they about 2 years apart? Maybe a little more?
I think they're about 2 years apart. I think his oldest is probably
3
or 4.
Yeah.
He'll probably chime in here.
He'll let us know here in a second.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. Here, he's educating me. The dad of 2 is educating me. Doesn't matter what time they go to bed. They're going to be up by 7. So I need to stick with my freedom in the evenings.
Well, we'll wait for Felix's response because I'm sure it's coming, or at least I hope it is.
Do you feel like we're like extra happy? Like we might be missing something that drags us down sometimes?
Like a dark cloud is
not
above our head.
Yeah, just some general grumpiness.
Yes, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah. Oh, no, Brian. That's it.
2020, I did
16 months apart. That's close.
I thought his oldest was a little bit older.
Yeah.
Just a little over 2. So she's a month older than Brian's.
Yeah,
months
must
older
be
than
just
yours.
just a few months older than mine.
Yeah. Well, now that you learned everyone's family history, let's actually get into some NFL talk because we do have not as much injuries as we did last week. A lot of smaller ones, thankfully. There are some big ones in here and some concerning notes, things that we definitely need to talk about, and then some things we'll just give you the update on. We don't have quite everyone, just some of the major notes here. James Conner, limited practice for Wednesday for his ribs. He was limited last week.
I feel like he's been limited for a month. I know it's not true, but it feels like it.
From my understanding, ribs was always something like if you can handle the pain tolerance. And I'm not calling James Conner soft or anything, but I thought that's what it was.
I own him. I'll call him soft. He's soft.
Quick. I mean, I wish you grab Eno.
Oh yeah.
We need to start mentioning like who these matchups are nowadays since we're kind of changing the format and everything. So I'm going to pull this up real quick. They face Seattle's defense, and Seattle's rush defense is not good. I think Eno would be a great play here if James Conner misses. Do you agree, Cody?
Yeah, I'm still plugging Eno in. Here's what I'll say. I was wondering even like a week ago if there would be a change in the guard because Eno had strung together a couple of, at least decent games. I guess maybe it was in week 7. I think he had a nice game.
Yeah.
But he's overall been like pretty ineffective. Like I'm looking at the games that Connor's been out. I think these are the games been out. His yards per carry 3.1, 2.5, 7.7, 2.4. He's been under 4 yards a carry 3 or 4 games. So I was thinking, hey, maybe it's just Eno time, but I don't know. He hasn't exactly ran away with this job. But I agree. He's still a start.
Yeah, I remember he actually played Seattle and he only put up 9.5. He got 15 carries that game. So like 3 receptions. Like he's getting volume while James Conner is out. If they're keeping it close, if they're leading. And I think again, you're looking for RBs. RBs are pretty weak right now. I don't want to say, I think Eno is like a low end RB2 is what I'm trying to get at.
Agree.
Without Conner. Fantasy wise.
Agree.
I guess you could argue the case skill wise. Cordarrelle Patterson announced Wednesday that he will return from IR. Still needs practice. What do we take?
Yeah, it doesn't mean he's back, but it means he's back in the sense of we're nearing a return. We're going to start seeing some probably limited practices. I wouldn't expect him this week, but it's on the horizon.
You guessing next week?
That would be my guess at the moment. We don't have much yet, but I'm going to say week 10. What do we have have they had their bye?
I don't believe they have. Their bye isn't till week 14 though, so it's definitely not going to come in handy here.
Yeah, I'm going to take a guess of week 10, but we'll see.
Carolina is what we would come back to there. Gus Edwards day-to-day with a hamstring. This one kind of hurts. He just got back. What's your takeaways here?
Yeah, it worries me. Hamstrings are always worrisome.
I.e. Keenan.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Yeah. The forever hamstring. It's just worries, and you just never know. Every guy's so different. There's guys who are day-to-day, and then they miss a month. There's guys that are day-to-day, and then they play. You want to see a full practice out of them. If we don't see a full practice, I don't think he's out there.
Death taxes and depleted Ravens backfield, Felix has.
This was such a great backfield for fantasy. It's really sad what's kind of played out.
So, I mean, the real question is like Keenan Drake. Does he become a start, or are you just not sure yet?
Yeah,
because he's burned people.
Well, I think it depends on Gus Edwards.
Okay.
If Gus starts, I don't think I'm putting
right. If Gus is out, though.
Or Kenyon. Sorry, Kenyon.
They're on bye. No, they play New Orleans.
Yeah.
Week. And then it goes to bye. I think the bye being right after this game is more reason for me to believe that Gus won't play.
And if he does, I think you start Kenyon Drake.
Against New Orleans.
If you're going to start, here's what I'll say. If you're going to start Benjamin, you got to start Kenyon Drake.
What if you had to pick between the two of them? You could very well have either of them.
I think I'd pick Kenyon Drake.
If there's Kenyon no Gus over Eno?
Yeah.
What's up, Albert?
Albert, how we doing, my man?
Darren Waller, another one with a hamstring issue, did log a limited on Wednesday. This is rough, man. I think they need him out there. They just don't look right offensively. If Josh Jacobs ain't carrying the game, they don't look good. They've passed their bye. They're coming back this week against Jacksonville. I don't know if he'll be out there. I don't believe Foster Moreau is a play at this point. Derek Carr just does not look good.
Okay, interesting. Even with the tight end landscape, which I guess we've had some risers in the tight end landscape in the last few weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I mentioned it on last night's show, and I feel like I'm just about to double down on a take that I might regret, but I think Likely is a great pickup. I think there's more to his role in this Ravens offense than just being the backup to Mark Andrews with the Bateman injury. So we'll see more on that.
Commentators, I mean, I'm derailing us slightly, but I'll say it quick. Commentators in the game last week, they said like, hey, this is a receiver. This is a guy with receiver skills. This is not your down blocking pass blocking. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. We saw it in preseason.
Yeah.
Looked good.
He has a really promising future. Really promising future.
I know. I had Rob just loves throwing that at my face that he has him in Dynasty. Yep. Keenan Allen didn't practice Wednesday due to hamstring. It's important to note here that Staley said something along the lines of it's just not healing the way we thought, or something.
You think?
Very close to that. Right. Yeah. Oh, shit.
We knew that a month ago.
Yeah. They're like, let's just try to push him out here as quick as we can. We need Justin Herbert to be on his game. He keeps screwing it up a little bit.
Yep.
Do you think he plays this week? Because I kind of think he's out.
Nope. I kind of think he's out too. And with no Mike Williams, I'm glad Brian's not here because I don't want to hear about it. But
Josh Palmer.
And Austin Eckler keeps raving about him.
Yeah. Cooper Kupp did not practice Wednesday with an ankle. You had some notes on this pre-meeting. What do you think?
I think he's okay. But Sean McVay did come out earlier today and say he regretted not polling him. So that's always a little like, why would you regret not polling him if it was okay? You know what I mean? I'm not in panic mode yet.
Risk.
Yeah, I guess. But if a coach says like, oh, I should have pulled him, then it's not super minor,
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to go with okay at this moment, but I got a little pause on Cooper Kupp this week.
So they play Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's defense been struggling a little bit. Obviously, if Cooper Kupp plays, you have to start him.
Yeah, of course.
But does Allen Robinson get some ticks up?
You're saying if Cooper Kupp doesn't play?
Right. No. If Cooper either option. Let's say
I'm
either
still
option.
Not there. I mean, it was slightly encouraging last week, but I'm not there.
2 weeks in a row.
Ish,
5 for 63, 1 touchdown. 5 for 54, no touchdown.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I'm there. Are you back in?
Time. Of course. Dude, he could have put up 60 yards. Once he hit 17 fantasy points after putting 2, 4, 2, 4. 17,
if Cooper
10?
Kupp's out, it's a for sure yes. Of course.
I think Cooper Kupp.
I mean, it's a flex, right? I assume.
Cuts for his routes. If he could make the cuts for his routes, McVay would let Kupp's corpse trot out there.
Yeah. Yes. Cooper Kupp still. Well, I still can't say his name live on air, but because of Felix, Cooper Kupp's still not a good human being in my book.
Rashad Bateman out for a month or so. You already got a little bit of peace. It could be a little less than a month, but I think they said somewhere around 3 to 4 weeks. Same injury that he was dealing with. When was this?
Yep. It just keeps getting aggravated.
Yeah. So, I mean, my take is Isaiah Likely. Duvernay is a great stash. Anything else?
I dropped him in a redraft league. That's where I'm at.
Bateman?
Yep. I'm just, for what it's been, and I've been a little bit in the Bateman camp. I mean, not like crazy, but I've been like, oh, I think he's a flex when he's healthy. But I'm not going to wait a month for a flex. I'm going to go try to find something
too much.
Yeah, right.
He's had one flex-worthy game, I think. No?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I guess it depends. I think he's had a couple of, he's only played in probably 4?
Yeah, I guess he started off pretty hot. 14.9,
Yeah.
22.8, then 6, 5, 8, or miss 8-0.
Yeah.
It's been rough.
It's been okay-ish in terms of looking at a flex guy, but I'm just not going to roster it for a month and redraft for a guy that hasn't had a 10-point game since September.
Somebody's going to come alive on that offense. I really believe that.
I picked up Duvernay, actually. I think that's the move I made, was drop Bateman, pick up Duvernay. And I still think Duvernay is a gadget player, but at this point, gadget away, my friend.
This is funny that Felix just said he's no Hollywood Brown. He's actually he's not as skilled as Hollywood Brown, which sounds crazy because we all shit on Hollywood Brown while he was in Baltimore. We see him come to Arizona, looks great. Duvernay fits a lot of those same sort of traits as Hollywood. Not quite as speedy and good at route running, but he's
not quite an authentic, just in general, not quite an authentic wide receiver.
He might be as fast, actually. Yeah.
I think he's probably as fast, just not as authentic of as a receiver. He's yeah.
DK and Tyler Lockett were limited participants today at practice.
They'd be all right.
They should be fine. They were both limited last week, ended up playing. Mike Evans limited at practice. Nothing noteworthy here, I don't think. Something with his foot or ankle.
Ankle,
sorry.
Foot? Ankle, I think. Yeah. He's okay. I think it's fine.
This one made me raise my eyebrows, and I don't know what foot it is. Derrick Henry limited at practice because of foot injury.
As long as he's still limited, and I know the history, but as long as he's still practicing in some capacity, I'm not pressing the panic button yet. It's worrying you?
Just a little. I like Derrick Henry so much. I don't want him to be hurt ever. I want him to play until he's 40.
And I told you, do you remember in terms of Derrick Henry, what you're supposed to hold me to? We talked about this.
You're not supposed to, you told me to not let you draft him next year, but I think you're wrong. I don't think
this is
not no, it's not allowed to be, but I will hold you to that. Mark Andrews.
But I say that because I want this to keep going. Like I want a good last ride.
He's good.
Yeah.
We talk about generational talent a lot, and when our generation, maybe not so much because we got to see LT, we seen Sean Alexander, AP. And Sean Alexander might not actually make that list of those guys. Frank Gore would, but like Derrick Henry in this past 7 years, he's got to be like the best runner.
Yeah, and such a break from the prototypical of our time. Like we're in a speedster era, and. Not that he's slow.
A big dude.
Yep.
Mark Andrews, shoulder, ankle injuries. Harbaugh came out and said that they dodged a bullet. Again, though, monitor. Hopefully you get Likely.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great handcuff if Andrews is out.
He's absolutely. If you own Andrews and there's any Likely available, you should own it. Andrews is interesting because I think he'll continue to play. But he didn't look like there were issues in the game last week. Like
I know when they came out and said it was a shoulder, I was like, wasn't he like crouching like a knee injury?
Right.
Yeah. They had the mini bye though.
Yes, they do.
And
it helps. And I think he's gonna play. I just think he's pretty banged up.
Yeah. I actually would, as a Mark Andrews Dynasty owner, want him to sit. Go into the bye. They had the 10 days because they played on Thursday.
So they give you 10 plus this really, what would it be?
We're both struggling.
17. Be 17 days. Yeah.
Total?
Yeah, I think, right?
Yeah.
Do
that. Take
That's
the 17
almost 3
days.
weeks.
Yeah. JT rolled ankle. I believe this is the same ankle he's been dealing with. Deion Jackson is an immediate plug on anybody, but especially if you have JT.
Absolutely. Can I detour again 1 second for just something that I think, as much as I threw shade, as kind of sad what's kind of transpired? Matt Ryan's not even practicing now.
What do you mean? What did they say?
Just not practicing.
How do you know he's not practicing? They just said doesn't practice?
Yeah. Like he's not practicing.
What report came out that said that though?
Oh, he's on the ESPN. He's listed on the ESPN injury report as doubtful and not practicing.
Oh.
Like I think they're literally
that
just
was like the confusion. Like people were like, yeah, Matt Ryan is getting benched, but he also hurt his shoulder or something.
Yeah, I guess the reason I say that, I am taking it as we're done and just don't even bother. Yeah,
Done.
That's the way I take that. Not that it's the injury.
Oh,
but maybe I'm reading
out.
that wrong. Yeah, maybe I'm reading that wrong though.
Oh,
it's just weird because
he has been very calm about taking a backup role here after demanding a trade out of Atlanta
and there's
trying
no
to get
chatter.
a QB.
Like, yeah, they like, oh, he hurt his shoulder, but there's never been any like, yeah, you might be out 2 weeks. Like, there's no injury updates.
They said Ellinger was like the starter rest of the season no matter what.
That's right. Yeah, and they've just basically like thrown him away, and I feel bad for Matt Ryan. He's had a really, really good career.
I don't feel too bad because he get paid $30 million to just sit on the bench.
True that.
I think it's something like that, right?
True that.
That's funny. Like, do you keep him on your roster next year knowing he can't throw just for if you wanted to, just for the experience? Like,
no, not for that price tag.
But like, what if he doesn't retire and then you have to cut him and then you're still taking some dead cap space?
It's huge. Yeah, I'm sure that's a massively guaranteed contract too.
I'm so curious about that situation and like if he's like, no, I'm not retiring. I don't know if he's even. I don't know his contract status. I really don't.
My guess is they tried to trade him for anything this past week and it didn't happen because of the contract.
No way.
Well,
you think somebody would have bought on that?
You trade him? No. I'm saying nobody would, but I'm guessing they tried. Is what I'm saying.
I don't think they did.
Really? Why would you pay him this money to not even have him practice if you're not going to trade him? Like, I don't understand that.
I think they just knew damn well he wasn't going anywhere.
Like that nobody would buy.
Yeah.
Okay. So not that they wouldn't want to.
I just think, I think like what you were saying in the very beginning of this conversation, it's over. We're not going to try to swindle somebody and ruin a relationship. Like, no way.
Yeah.
That's like ruining a dynasty trade partner, which is what Brian has already done to half the league.
Maybe there's also been a backroom conversation of like, hey, we won't make you practice anymore if you just retire at the end of this year. That wouldn't shock me.
That's what I would be like. Hell yeah.
Like, we'll pay you the rest of this year. We're not going to make you move. We're not going to trade you. We're not going to cut you. You just need to retire at the end of this year.
There would be nothing better than being backup quarterback. And we like Blue Mountain State, the whole premise of that is I like being backup.
Maybe he's the new Curtis Painter in Indianapolis.
Chase Daniels or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. The dude is he's a Pro Bowling backup QB.
Yep.
There was a Pro Bowl for backup QBs. DeAndre Swift also dealing with ankle shoulder injuries. This one is weird. New Charlie Batch. That's right, Felix. Did not practice today. I have some concerns here. There's so many things that I was thinking about. I own him, I think, in 2 leagues. Are they going to shut him down? What's the situation? Obviously, Detroit just decided we're not playing for this year even remotely at all.
Mm-hmm.
After coming off of the season, you thought, oh, we're going to surprise some people. They're now 1-6.
Yeah.
Jamal's running well. Like, things are looking scary for one of my favorite RBs.
Yeah, Hawkinson. Like, they're clearly going into a little bit of like a rebuild.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Jared Goff got dealt away again in the offseason.
Or at least at a minimum that they draft a QB and then whatever comes from there.
Sure,
but,
right.
Yeah.
What do you think? You know what would, oh my gosh. Please, I think I said this already. Can they trade Jared Goff to the Jets?
Let me ask you this. Do you think Jared Goff's still at a point where somebody will commit to him as their starter? I think, and that's not, I don't mean that in a bad way, but like.
Yeah. No, okay. I do. I think he can potentially end up. I think he really has if he's not a starter, he has a Ryan Fitzpatrick career ahead of him.
I see that. That's actually where I was going.
He'll find a starting job every season because he
seems like such a likable guy. He doesn't make an insane amount of mistakes. Coaches always love him. Like Sean McVay was torn up and now Campbell loves him. Like he could very well be that next guy that
I think so.
Just floats.
Fitzpatrick, McCown was before that.
Flacco a little bit the last couple of years. Not necessarily a starter, but like always kind of like right on the edge of that starting role. So better than Flacco, but
yeah, and Flacco obviously completely washed.
Right.
Goff much younger. I think
I just don't know if a team commits to Goff. Like I truly
the Jets
believe the
would
Lions
be a perfect team to commit to him for a year.
When the Lions traded for him, it wasn't a Band-Aid. It was, we think Jared Goff can be our guy. I do believe that.
Yeah, because I think
I don't know that another team says that about Jared Goff.
No, but if you're looking at your team as the Jets, Breece Hall coming back, all these young receivers now a year older. Corey Davis, you got Mims will be gone, Garrett Wilson. So you have the best running backs. not best, but really solid running backs. You got a great defense. You have a defensive-minded coach. He's like, I just need a game manager in there.
Yep.
Goff would be his guy.
Bucks are another one.
Tom's not going to be here next year. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be here next year.
I don't think Matt Ryan's going to be here next year.
Huh?
I don't think Matt Ryan is either. I think we're going to have a lot of big retirements.
I think so. It's been tough for the older guys this year.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good leeway into our dynasty chat.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Swift real quick. You're starting Jamal Williams almost. I switched Jamal in on one league already. Obviously, I won.
Oh, okay. So you're just operating as if you're, yeah.
Sorry to come back to that, but let's go into dynasty talk. We wanted last time we were talking about some wide receivers. We talked about a lot: Garrett Wilson, Drake London, and Treylon Burks. But there's other guys, right? There's other guys that are kind of tough to value. Like really kind of where do you stand about their future? What are we moving forward? What are we doing moving forward with these guys? So I have my favorite one here, and this was by design. I want to get your standpoint on it. I hear Brian's standpoint all the time. A guy that everyone was pretty hyped about went in the second round, went to the best spot he could go.
Yep.
Allegedly.
Tons of opportunity.
Sky Moore getting less than right around 30% of the snaps right now.
Just traded for Kadarius Toney.
They just added Toney. Juju has only a 1-year contract. Mecole is off his contract. MVS is technically the only one under contract through after this season. Obviously Kelsey as well, I believe. Where has his value dropped? Is it the same?
It's dropped. To me, it's dropped. And I'm not done with him. I do wonder this, and this is going to be an out there statement. But I think the Chiefs this year was a really good test for the Chiefs, and it's going to be a really good thing for them going forward. They decided to see if they could do it without receivers, and they can. And it's working. Like Patrick Mahomes' pass rating is like 109. He's been fabulous.
Good.
He's so good. And so you start getting to that point of where obviously they didn't want to recommit to Tyreek for, I mean, here nor there. I mean, it's big money. But I do wonder that now that you do this test, why would you commit to anybody?
Well, yeah, I get your point. But I mean, I think they could do this how people do running backs, right? Draft them. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
That he's there for 4 years and what they get him. And that's not to say there's not value the next 3 years. I just think, and this is not a guarantee. I just think, hey, if I don't know that he's going to be Patrick Mahomes' weapon in the middle of his prime on a second contract, that takes away a little bit of the allure.
That's so far thinking.
It is.
Let me kind of digest a little bit about what you're saying there. It's
and
hard
it's
to.
I don't necessarily think it's true. It's just a thought.
No, I think it's a good thought. It's hard to necessarily plan for that way of thinking. Mm-hmm. What if he lands in a very similar spot after year 4? What if he does get extended? What if he just, like there's a lot of situations that if you kind of approach it that way, that could backfire on you.
Sure. No, definitely. So let's say then let's just use the hypothetical of let's just forget that. He either is, Kansas City's going to do everything they can to make him the guy, or he lands in a good spot. What has you encouraged about Sky Moore compared to when you drafted him, for example?
Oh, I really don't. I am down right now, but I am absolutely stashing him. Our league implemented a rule mid-season, but implemented a rule to open up our taxi because the trades were insane and Sleeper doesn't offer a taxi to taxi trade. So a lot of guys were coming off taxi that wouldn't have. So now I got to place him on my taxi and I love it. He's on my taxi.
That's the perfect spot for him.
And I think that's where you want him. And I still think in Dynasty, you hold for the year, even if he's not on your taxi. I think there's some optimistic things like, okay, well, there's some bad things as well. Brian made a point of saying, look, no good wide receiver, or not many at all in general, that have made a name for themselves have had less than 50% of their snaps in the first 8 weeks of the season. Sky Moore right now does.
Yeah.
The only thing that I have to even rebuttal against that claim, because I could not find a wide receiver. Now I didn't look at everyone, but I was like, I was searching. Travis Kelce didn't play very much at like almost like one game his rookie campaign.
Tight ends are just such a bad rookie thing, though.
But it's the
I have
same.
to throw that one out.
It's the same coach. Wait, I don't know if Andy Reid was there in 2014. I hope
he wasn't. I don't think. That was 8 years ago. I don't think Andy Reid's been there 8 years. Maybe he has, but maybe he has. You might be right.
I'm looking now.
But it's still just, it's not an Andy Reid thing. Like in that case, it's just, we know tight ends take so long to mature.
Head coach since 2013. Whew.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they do. They absolutely do. Tight ends definitely take longer to develop. But I mean, if there's one tight end that I could compare his situation to, I felt like it could be the Kansas City's. Look at him now. Look at Kelce going now. Sky Moore, the next Travis Kelce.
And here's the other little things about Sky Moore. And he's a stash. None of this, it's just the like, it's continuing to keep the expectations in check. Like he was a late second round pick. Now I'm not saying that's a late pick, but in last year's wide receiver class, that made him probably the like, I don't even know, 6th or 7th receiver off the board, probably.
I didn't even see this question. Is Goff better than Flacco?
Yes.
Yes. So I keep getting distracted. So you're saying he would be, where would you put him right now in that wide receiver class? I mean, we haven't seen anything, so you could say damn near last.
I mean, obviously you slide Treylon Burks down, but I don't know if you slide him below Sky Moore. What does Sky Moore show that Burks has? You know what I mean?
So
yeah. Olave's over him, obviously.
Wilson
George Pickens is over him. Wilson's
George
over
Pickens
him.
is.
Yep. Drake London's
we haven't seen much of David Bell.
No. He's just such a different player, though. David Bell is just yeah. Yeah, I mean, you still got, he's probably still the 6th or 7th. We're probably forgetting somebody.
Well, here's one that we could talk about. Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah.
He has to be over him right now, right? Like,
I was going to ask you that. I mean, I think he's over him for opportunity. I still worry about Wan'Dale's size, and I own him. I trade it for him. So I like the guy. I still really worry about his size. He's got those Tavon Austin vibes that never make me feel real good.
Yeah. I mean, what we've seen though, like the way that Giants use wide receivers, they don't use the big bodied receiver. They don't recently. They like having these short, speedy. I don't even want to say
they keep getting the big guys because they think they like them, but then they don't use them.
They don't. And I mean, like what we saw with Tony, who I know is taller than Wan'Dale, but he's not a big receiver either. If Wan'Dale, in my mind, they drafted Wan'Dale to replace Tony. Exact same role. They want him to do the exact sort of things. He's a close fit to that sort of style of play, that sort of wide receiver. I think Wan'Dale is really good for this offense, but the problem is, and this is absolutely a problem, they are for sure going to be drafting some wide receivers. They're going to do something about Kenny Galladay's contract eventually. I don't know what the move is going to be. Some sort of settlement, maybe. I'm not quite sure. Injury settlement, if he's always injured.
Right.
They're going to get more wide receivers eventually. That's the scary part.
Right. This doesn't always matter too. But I think it does sometimes. The Giants loved Wan'Dale Robinson. They drafted him 2nd round pick 11. He was projected to be a 4th round pick.
They do love a lot of people.
Yeah. They do, but they loved him. He went above a guy like Sky Moore, who I think he was definitely lower than Sky Moore on prospect boards.
Where did you see projected 4th though? Because I felt like he was ranked relatively higher than 4th.
It was his NFL.com draft profile. So Lance Zierlein,
I think he was ranked a little bit higher by draft than 4th, I believe.
It's so hard too because there's so many receivers in that class. Like even when you have that many receivers, even somebody projected as maybe like a later, they almost get automatically slid down sometimes because there's just like, okay, we know 10 receivers aren't going in the 1st round. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean that draft had what, 7 in the 1st?
6 or 7. Yeah, well, maybe not quite that much. Maybe
Garrett, Olave, Jameson,
London Burks.
London Burks. That's 6 right there. Garrett, Olave, Jameson. No, that isn't.
That's
London
5.
Burks, 5.
We're missing one though. like a big one. I feel like
Christian Watson wasn't until second round, or was it end of first? I think it was second round.
I think it was second round.
I'll pull it up.
You got a bunch more in the second round. All these guys, Sky Moore, Christian Watson, Wanda Robinson, those are all second rounders. Like there was a lot of receivers taken in the first 2 rounds. Pickens was a second, right?
In the second round?
Yeah. Was Pickens second
I don't have
round?
it quite open yet. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I like Wanda. None of this is a knock on him, but I just they loved a player more than the average in this case. And a lot of times that just seems to end up burning teams.
I feel like we only hear that it burns teams, right? We never actually see it.
It's maybe
work out the other way. We never see it work.
You know what it makes me think of when I say that out loud?
I cannot find the wide receiver.
The video of the Minnesota Vikings laughing when the Eagles took Jalen Reagor. That's what makes me think of it.
But like Reagor was the guy there, right?
He was.
Like I think
he was. It was just. It's just. Yeah, it's so good.
That's pain. That is freaking pain. Last, well, I actually have 2 more topics I want to talk about wide receiver wise. Alec Pierce is an interesting one. The dude's a burner. He's really fast. The problem is Matt Ryan and him were starting to actually build a really nice.
Yeah.
They had a nice chemistry going, and like it was good to see. You saw him coming back for the ball. Matt Ryan's no longer a quarterback. We don't know what the situation in Indianapolis is going to look like over the next 2, 3, 4 years, even.
And you got a Michael Pittman problem in terms of competition.
Yes. What do you do? Like, is he somebody that's worth stashing and going through this as a wide receiver 2 on a rebuilding team that's kind of
right,
big body, fast? But
I think he's absolutely worth stashing. He's somebody that I'm not going out and chasing personally, though. I just think the hurdles are big for him to have fantasy relevance in the next couple of years. You got to figure out quarterback. You got to pass Michael Pittman. You're a running team at your core. You know, I just think there's hurdles for him to become even a starting fantasy option consistently that make it hard for me. Because, like, let's say you were trading for Alec Pierce. Let's say you're like, well, I like Alec Pierce. I want to go get him. What are you giving for him in Dynasty? Do you give a second for him?
No, you can't. Not a 23rd or 24th.
Maybe I was going to say I was going to say a 24 second, but that might
24th even has some nice prospects. Like,
yeah, and so I think he's a player. If you own him, you're going to keep owning him. Like, I don't think somebody's going to come chase him off your team, but he's worth rostering. Like, you want to see.
I think like like you might hate what I'm going to say next, but until I had him valued a lot higher until this recent unfold of the Matt Ryan, them clearly saying we're going to be drafting a QB. We're kind of going to be rebuilding. Like there was actual moves that they made that were like, this is what's happening moving forward. You saw Jim Irsay saying that he's pretty much fed up with Wright. He's pretty much fed up with these veteran quarterbacks being brought in. Like it's a mess. Those were like direct, I don't want to say direct quotes, but like actual things that he was what the media was saying. So.
Yeah, he's on a wrecking ball mission right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what really has kind of made me down. Like I would have, if we had this conversation 3 weeks ago, you would have heard me saying, please go and get him.
Alec Pierce, yeah. Well, you talked about him. He was even a guy you were on top of this one. Like even maybe before the season, he was a name you were mentioning. So that's good on you.
Big.
Because he's been a bright spot.
They talked him up out of Cincy. Like he was a good receiver there and fast. He's fast for his size. Like he's really fast, which I actually didn't know he was fast at the time of when we talked about him before, but watching him this year and seeing him, he has some burners.
Mm-hmm.
So like the size and everything is there. So maybe if you're like a person that's like, I like buy talent here. And Michael Pittman isn't a beacon of health. Dude always kind of runs into a little something. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. I agree.
Did you have anything more to say on Alec Pierce? I felt like
nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Last piece is the Green Bay rookie wide receiver. So Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, There's another one, but I don't think it's worth talking about. This Samari Torrey. I think I'm saying that right. Outside the last one, Dobbs and Watson. How is Dobbs climbing your ladder in Dynasty? Because I think it's important to distinguish here. Or maybe this is me projecting. I think it's important to distinguish here because I think Dobbs is actually more valuable this year than how I feel about him in Dynasty.
I agree. And I think in Dynasty, I'm getting to a point where you got to and what you said earlier. I have real quarterback concerns for this team.
Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not talking this year. I'm talking going forward. Like he's obviously showed historical frustration. He's losing it a smidge.
He's erratic a little bit. Like he's a little bit like a ticking time bomb.
Yep. He's obviously frustrated with the talent of receiver. He bashes receivers every week in the media. Like you mentioned, I just don't know how long Aaron Rodgers is here. And so regardless of who it is outside of Allen Lazard, I think Allen Lazard's still clearly the wide receiver one on this team. I think it's hard in Dynasty to get really excited about either Watson or Romeo.
Or Lazard. I mean, shit, but
yeah, Lazard's 26. I mean, not that 26 is old, but by the time you get adequate QB play again, if Aaron Rodgers' era comes to an end, Yeah,
you're banking. If you're going out and buying one of these Green Bay receivers, keep in the back of your mind that Jordan Love could be throwing him the ball next year.
Yeah.
And if you're comfortable with that, because I'll tell you what, I'm not until I see it.
Yep. And in terms of just looking purely take quarterback play out of it, Christian Watson looks like a bust.
I think so too. There's been, he looks like he's just going to get relegated into a role of go run a vertical.
Yeah. And maybe we'll throw it to you once every 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It just doesn't scream talent.
Already dealing with some injuries too.
Yeah.
And
he has a concussion right now, I think. Am I wrong in that?
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
It looked like it could have been a neck injury, so glad it was only a concussion. Romeo Dobbs has looked amazing. He's looked pretty good.
He's definitely the one compared to Watson you want for this year. But I just wonder too, QB play. How can you get excited about Romeo Dobbs?
And that price is up there. That price is.
What do you
they're
think
asking for at least a second. At least.
I agree. I was thinking maybe you're going to say more. Yeah.
I think they'll ask for a second plus.
Yeah.
Who's got Dobbs in our league? Paul?
Maybe. I'm actually not sure.
I would love to see what he would ask for.
Yep.
It is. He's in a little bit different situation because I think he's going all. I mean, he absolutely is all in.
He's probably searching for a player.
Yeah.
He's searching for a player.
Wonder what that player would be.
I was trying to think through that too. In Dynasty, is it an Allen Lazard?
Shit. No, I don't think.
If you're all in for this year.
Yeah, I don't even think I would do it that though.
Wait, which side? If you have Romeo, you're not doing it?
I probably wouldn't send Romeo for Allen Lazard, and I love Lazard.
If you're playing for this year, even?
Yeah.
Okay.
He hasn't been significantly better than Dobbs.
No, I agree. You've got the touchdown upside. That's the part that keeps screaming at you. That's the part that's hard to quit,
Yeah. I'm trying to find a receiver here, a little bit lower down.
The Packers, they definitely went all in. I shouldn't say all in. All they have is just vertical receivers.
I don't think Dobbs is that way.
Yeah, I think he is.
Do you?
I know he has nice routes. Yeah. I don't know. It just feels like a team they feel like they're doing giant stuff a little bit.
I got two for you. Would you give Jacoby Myers or go with Romeo Dobbs? You're the all-in team. If you're all in.
I'm the all-in team.
Yeah, and you have Dobbs.
I don't think, even though I'm all in, I can do it just based on Dobbs' age.
So you wouldn't trade Jacoby? Or
I don't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trade for Jacoby. I guess I'm assuming I have Dobbs. I think I would keep Dobbs. And I know I'm all in, but I just don't see enough upside to have me lose the years. You know what I mean?
Would you do it for Courtland Sutton?
I hate Courtland Sutton, man. Can you give me somebody else?
He's 27, so he's older. Would you do it for Jerry Jeudy?
No.
Interesting, because
oh man, that's a good one. Let's actually sit there. Let's talk about that one, because we're tiering. Let's get off the all-in thing and because those are both young receivers. Jerry Jeudy has underperformed. Romeo Doubs has overperformed draft capital. Both in, I guess you would say long term. I think you still got to say Jeudy has the preferable QB situation long term.
Maybe. I think his contract's over after this year, or is it next year? It might be next year.
He's probably got another year. I think he's Well, if you use a first round pick, he's probably got 2 more years. They pick up the 5th year option, which I assume they're going to. I don't know. I guess he hasn't been that great. Maybe
I don't know
won't.
if they have that much money.
Yeah, he should have 2 more left with his 5th year option after this year.
1 more left after this year.
He's only in his 3rd year, isn't he?
Yeah, so 1 more after this year.
1 more and then 5th year option. I'm counting the 5th year option.
Yeah, that's what it is. You're right. 24 is, it shows on here. 25 is what he is, an unrestricted free agent.
Unrestricted free agent. Okay.
He's not in contract in 2020.
So you're talking about a guy obviously high draft capital, who's underperformed. I mean, which one are you taking? I think I've changed my mind and I'm taking Jeudy. And I've been on record of not liking these Broncos receivers. But I think I still got to take the pedigree of Jeudy in this situation over the blip of Romeo Doubs that's been nice.
Okay, so I'm going to give a crazy situation that I think can pan out.
Okay.
I think Aaron Rodgers is done after this year. If especially, absolutely, like every game that they win past playoffs, I think that less. So keep that in mind. Like, if they win the first round, if they win the second round, like that,
he starts
that
thinking, hey, maybe
drastically.
Yep.
If they miss playoffs, I think he is gone. I don't think he plays for another team. I think he just retires.
He's done.
I think he goes and joins Pat McAfee's shows and does that. The situation that I'm going to go with next is going to be the weird part. I think Jordan Love comes in. I am not a Jordan Love believer. I think the coach LaFleur finally gets to coach instead of having the most uncoachable player on his team.
Yep.
And I buy in the talent on Dobbs, so I go Dobbs.
Even with Jordan Love. Okay.
Somebody's going to catch balls here. I think Allen Lazard is a free agent after this season. You're looking at Dobbs, Christian Watson, and maybe they draft another wide receiver. But can we really bank on that from Budapest or whatever it is?
No, they don't draft receivers.
Exactly. Like,
at least not in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah. They're doing like the 3rd plus or 2nd plus, but never in first.
No. Aaron Rodgers never had a first round receiver, I believe is the stat.
Yeah, because Devontae Adams was 2nd round.
Yeah. Yep.
I like Dobbs. I think Dobbs is actually pretty good.
Now, what I do, this short detour. I keep putting my detours. I'm spelling them out because I know they're bad. I'm recognizing here my transgressions.
You just detoured your detour.
I know. Dysfunctional.
I think that's what they call ADHD.
Yeah. That's called needs medicated.
Yeah.
I do appreciate though. Like, I know why Aaron Rodgers is annoyed he never gets first round talent. I know why he always brings it up. I know why he talks about the lack of receiver talent, but I really appreciate the way Packers spend time on players. Everybody quits on everybody so quick. Yeah. Like, even Jordan Love. They drafted Jordan Love, 3 years ago now? Most teams, if your starter stayed, you've already shipped Jordan Love for a 2nd rounder by now. They stay committed to players pretty hard.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers was on the bench for like 5 years, 6 years.
Heck, I was shocked they paid Aaron Jones. That's another good example. Devontae Adams took forever to come together. Allen Lazard took forever to come together. Like, they just stay on these players, keep them in their system, and they eventually turn out.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't cut them. They don't cut loose. Yeah, I mean, the Allen Lazard one is, I think, the most impressive because he was undrafted.
Yeah.
So they're dedicating to a guy that they brought in and just said, we think he's got the talent and we're going to kind of keep working with that.
Right.
No, it's a good point. I mean, I hate this GM though. I really do. I also hate Aaron Rodgers quite a bit.
Well, at the next owners meeting, I'll put a bug in their ear.
All right, good. Let them know. There is one more conversation that I wanted to have.
I kind of want to have a little one too, just so you know, just a little one.
Do you want to do yours instead? We could save mine for later.
Can we do mine really quick? It's just a question. Because I'm really excited about a player.
We could talk about it for whatever.
I'm too excited. I'm too excited about a player. I'm in dangerous territory.
Do you own this player?
Nope, and he's ungettable.
That means he's got to be on like Brian's team or something.
Who else other than Brian?
Is it Thomas's team?
It's Keaton.
Oh no, Justin Fields?
No, we were on receiver talk. It's George Pickens.
Oh, you love him, especially because of Claypool trade.
I'm getting dangerously in love with George Pickens with the Claypool trade. Dangerously in love. And I know I can't get him, but what do you think for a team rebuilding? Like, I'd rather George Pickens than probably anything coming up in the draft, just based on.
No,
you don't think?
No,
he's been really good. Wait, he's got opportunity galore now.
I think the problem is like Kenny Pickett sucks so far. It's early. It's very early.
I don't know that I feel quite the same on Kenny Pickett.
He's getting shitted on right now.
Yeah, but I don't know that I feel. I mean, he threw for 300 yards. That's something Mitch Trubisky didn't.
They're not going to give up on him. They're not going to give up on him. Although I did see somebody. Okay, so this is maybe I'm just biased because of what I'm reading. So this might be getting to me a little bit more. But I read somebody like they were like, "What are the chances? What are the chances quarterback or the Steelers draft a quarterback in top 3 pick next year?" And you know what the person's response was? It was freaking great.
Okay.
Josh Rosen would still be in Atlanta if Cardinals didn't draft Kyler. And you're like, oh shit, we're getting to that level. Look, I don't think we're there. I really don't think we're there. Kenny Pickett is not a great decision maker, though.
No, but that fits the Steelers. Like Ben Roethlisberger was never a good decision maker.
No, he wasn't.
Pickett, and maybe I'm letting this jade me too much. He feels like a Steeler, and so I just have that in my mind that they're gonna make it work. And I know there's no substance to that, but like, he feels like the prototypical heir to Ben Roethlisberger to me.
I always thought it was Mac Jones, by the way. Always thought it was.
You thought he was the one?
Oh, for sure. We had a huge Mac Jones conversation today. I thought he would have looked really good in Steelers jersey. I don't know. Maybe it was just the picture where he has his shirt off. I was like, yeah, Big Ben.
Turns out it was just Tom Brady, which also fits.
I mean, George Pickens it's been good.
Let me throw that's the question I was going to ask. So like when I say like, hey, I think based on where he fell, the team trading away another receiver, a pretty heavy investment in him and him looking good. Like, I think I'd trade a 23 first rounder for George Pickens right now.
I hate that for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't get him. I could offer 2 first rounders and Keaton wouldn't trade him.
Really?
Yeah, he loves him.
What first rounder would you offer? You have 3 because you're rebuilding.
Yeah, I think it would be the latest of those 3 is what I would be offering.
Which is hard to say.
Crazy price.
Him or Thomas?
It's probably Thomas.
That's the latest?
Yeah.
I think so. I think his team has turned around quite a bit.
It has. I mean, the 2-10 start hurts, but he has turned it around.
So his pick will probably be somewhere, let's say he makes playoffs, so at least 8.
Let's say it's 8. That's the number I was going to say. I would trade the 8th pick for George Pickens.
Whew.
You think that's crazy?
I don't know. It's early.
Yeah. Think about it this way. I know it's not the same receiver class.
That?
No.
You've tried?
No, but I haven't tried. He wouldn't. He went all in to get him. But that's his.
He doesn't really care for picks though.
No, he wants young players that he loves. It's actually not.
Is he a Steelers fan?
No, Browns fan. But like you look at like even the 8th pick this year, that would have made him like what, the 4th receiver off the board. Like,
so I think it's still hard to look at it this year though.
But last year was a better receiver class.
I think this year is just stacked in running backs.
Agreed.
Pretty good quarterbacks coming.
But I guess I was saying I'd take him over any of the receivers coming up in this year's draft at this moment. That was kind of my ploy of why I'm like, well, if I'm going to take a receiver anyways.
There's a couple Jackson and.
But I got to make this decision today, so I don't know where that player lands yet. I don't know if he falls off. I don't like. There's some risk at today if I make that trade that I take out of the picture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think
So yeah, maybe he lands in just a perfect spot with great quarterback play, and then I'd be like, yeah, I shouldn't have made that trade. That might be true. But at this moment,
okay, so I think this is good. I think this is a good conversation because this is actually what helps me make these sort of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like Keaton actually does this a lot too, which I don't think you're going to have success if he does as well. If you're telling yourself, I am getting dangerously in love with this player and you want him, no. And if you want him and you're already telling yourself, I'm willing to part ways with this because I think the 8th pick is not somebody that I really care to look at. And you've looked at the list and you see like the projected maybe 6th through 9th.
The 2 quarterbacks, the 2 or 3 running backs.
Which aren't going to fall to you.
Yeah,
right. None of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not even the first 2 wide receivers are going to fall to you if this pans out to 8th because you're deciding today.
Right.
And you like him, go do it.
Yeah.
The problem with fantasy, and this is I tell you this all the time. This is
what I struggle with because I know that
it's your biggest struggle. You look at value and value alone. You don't look at like what's the guess the picture, guess the player. You keep your 2 sides and you look at value alone, and then you'll figure out who it is. Like if
100%.
If you could look at values, like if you just did a trade calculator and it was like 4,400. Oh, you're only getting back 3,900, and you had no clue what the player.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, you would. Not that you used the trade calculator.
It would have to be a player it would be a rare circumstance. You're 100% right. Rare.
But I think that like it's part of fantasy football though, and I think that's a part of what people forget to do when they're playing. So like I think my favorite thing to do in fantasy football is I like watching T. Higgins. I like rooting for him, and I'm a Cleveland dude.
Yeah,
I'm gonna draft him quite a bit and probably stupidly high. But like that. Right. It's I don't think to do it for your whole team, but I think it's cool.
But you got to pick your guys. Yeah. No, I think there's health in picking your guys and going and getting them. I think there's health in that.
It's fun. It's fun. This is a game about having fun and rooting for guys that like you love. And then like there's not a better feeling. There is absolutely not a better feeling when to be like, I love this guy, and then he's the top 5.
Like George Pickens is gonna be.
Well, then go get him. Is there a world where you see Pickens roll into top 5 wide receiver in the league?
Yes. Top 5 is such a bold statement. I think he's a future number 1 receiver in the league, as in top 12.
Okay.
Top 5 is just so bold to say for anybody almost. Yeah, you know what I mean?
So then if you think he's if you think there's a top 12 season, I think you do it.
He won't do it, so it's kind of arbitrary.
Just send the offer. See if he does it.
I'll send it right now.
Do it.
Okay.
All right. Let's get into. We got one more thing to talk about. We're not going to talk about the last Dynasty one. I'll keep that highlighted.
You sure we can't do it real quick? Because I think you're a little fool's gold, a little blinders on. You're sure?
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. It's Desmond Ridder. We'll talk about Desmond Ridder on another show because I don't think the turnover at QB is happening quite yet, unfortunately. Thursday night football preview. The Ravens versus the Bucks. That is not the Thursday night game. That is an old one.
Cody might have forgot to delete that part.
I'm pulling it up now because I need the spread anyways. It's the Eagles versus Houston. I want to say it's Houston is home, I believe. Yep. Houston's home. The spread. You ready for this spread? You ready for this?
I'll take.
If you had to take a guess,
the Eagles.
What's the spread? If you had to take a guess,
I don't care. I'll take the Eagles.
Take a guess.
15.
Close. It's 14. Houston is plus 14. The over/under is 45.
That's a huge spread. Give me the Eagles.
31-14 is the final of this game.
That actually feels right.
It does.
I like that score.
I think the defense scores a touchdown. Yeah. I think the Eagles defense.
So what are you taking? You taking the over/under? 14's big.
Under. Thursday night.
Thursday nights are weird.
I'm taking the under.
This
45.
is classic Brian stuff, but like Thursday night, Monday nights are weird, and divisional, like not necessarily, but just in general, weird stuff.
Yeah, and I think Monday's a little less weird. Thursday's the most weird because it's such a short week. But I probably do take the Eagles minus 14, but the under 45.
Yeah, I agree. The Texans
Brandon Cooks might not play. Nico Collins.
the Texans are going to keep him under.
Yeah, like So let's talk about that because there's not much to talk about on Houston side. We have Brandon Cooks maybe not playing. He
and Dameon
is
Pierce
maybe going to demand a release. So yes, Davis Mills, if he's in your super flex, sorry, dude, you need to pivot.
It might be receiver time. And Mario knows how much I despise not starting a second quarterback from previous talk in the offseason.
Oh, dude, you have to.
It might be time.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think that's the problem with Superflex, Cody. I'm glad we're kind of keeping this similar. Like this is we're supposed to talk about both redraft and dynasty, I guess. But the problem with Superflex is like you feel inclined to only start that QB.
Other people don't seem to though. You and I feel that way, but not everyone does.
That's why I went out and got a great second QB.
But I feel that pressure.
I always feel that pressure, and it's like I felt it in our other league that you weren't the league that you just joined, right? I remember starting a shit quarterback, Tannehill, for most of the year.
Yep.
And I didn't start consecutively winning until I was like, you know what? I had Darnell Mooney just kicking it on my bench. I was like, let me get him in there.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting my ass spanked. And then I started winning. So like Davis Mills is a perfect example. 15, 7, 9, 13, 5, 19, 8. Like those, a quarterback is only good if he's consistently getting 13 plus in your super flex.
Agreed.
And that's not asking much from a quarterback. 13.
And I'll maybe like take that, like Brian would say 10. I'm probably 12. You're 13 in terms of like
or a QB
replacement level. Yeah. Well, in terms of just a flex in general, because you're sliding a flex player into it.
Yeah.
So
good point.
I
would love 13. Yeah.
Yep. 13. Yep. Agreed.
But Dameon Pierce going against a tough Ravens defense.
Coming off a bad game. He had a receiving touchdown, but coming off a bad game efficiency wise.
And I believe one of their defensive tackles are out this game.
Okay.
I'm going to get the name here in a second. Dameon Pierce, is he locked and loaded into your lineup currently?
Yeah. One tidbit on Dameon Pierce that I'm loving, and he had a receiving touchdown this week, but he's been getting more receiving work the last 4 weeks. That's really kicked up. And that's just the icing on top.
It's interesting how good he's looked. So Jordan Davis, the defensive tackle, is ruled out for this game. Opens up the middle a little bit more. They obviously, I doubt that didn't they just trade for a linebacker? Am I thinking of the wrong team? Yeah, I am. Baltimore.
The Ravens did.
Yeah. The
Eagles could have too. I'm not sure, but the Ravens traded for the big one.
I think it's the Ravens. I think you gotta load in Dameon Pierce here. I just don't, and the reason is I don't really expect him to have a huge game. I would typically be like, if he's playing the Eagles, I'd be scared to start, but they might have no options.
If they have no Brandon Cooks, they're gonna score at least one touchdown. Let's say that. And if there's no Brandon Cooks, it's probably a 50% chance it's him and a 50% chance it's one of 6 other guys.
Phil Dorsett.
Yeah, right.
He's literally their offense at this point, and it's been surprisingly pleasant to watch him kind of destroy teams and Robbie be right about how good he's looked, because he's looked great. Any more to add on the Houston side of things?
Thankfully, no.
Eagles. So, all right, let's talk about how we're expecting this game to go, because I think this is good to look into. We're saying Houston's about to get that thwompity thwomp. We're going to get this.
Yep.
So what's that mean for Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard? These are all starting guys. We're not necessarily saying you can bench them, but it makes it tougher.
No, the team, they're winning every game, and those guys are doing fine. So them winning this game doesn't necessarily particularly scare me. You know what I mean?
Okay. And it's Thursday night. Shit can happen that we do not expect.
Honestly, best case scenario is that we're wrong about the spread and Houston stays in this game because all your Eagles weapons are gonna feast then.
I'm actually all in on a huge game for Miles Sanders. That's my play this week.
Okay. Just because of lack of usage last week? I like where you're going because I do this too. So like I'm down on AJ Brown this week and up on Miles Sanders.
Dude, so I noticed because you've mentioned this once before. You're like, well, I didn't join the survivor pool because I made it so far last year. I knew the odds were.
I got to sit one out. Yep.
Yeah. So like I do this with kickers the most. Where I'm like,
if you had a good game, you're out.
You haven't had 3 good games in a row. You're due.
Yes.
Because kickers are so unpredictable. But I will say Miles Sanders has been a couple weeks since he's had his big game, right? Not that this is the only reason, but Houston's rush defense is garbage. They have given up the most rushing yards to an RB. I don't know about the touchdown. They're absolutely terrible. We knew Derrick Henry was going to tear them up last week. This is the week for Miles Sanders. And if, again, game scripts going Eagles' way, they're going to run the ball.
And Miles Sanders, technically, here's more the reason. Maybe it's sometimes like game script that I try to flip away from, not necessarily production, because Miles Sanders on fantasy paper was fine last week. He had like 70 yards and a touchdown, but he only had 9 touches. Whereas, so like, I just think the touches, not necessarily like, I just think the touches go through the roof compared to last week.
Right.
What comes of that? But the touches are really, it's not the point. Does that make sense what I mean? That I'm not saying like, it's just the game plan, I think, flips.
And like, I think they look at things like, oh, Houston is awful against the run, which opens up doors for Hurts as well. But
yeah, we should probably give him more than 9 touches this week.
You have to think that happens. Like, we don't need to get too flashy here. Let's go out. Let's win the game. Let's not take this opponent like they're too lightly, but let's attack them where they're weak at. Like, you have to think that conversation happens.
I would have that conversation.
I'm in the camp that I think Serini is coach of the year.
Yeah, I like that. This has absolutely been a surprise team. They went all in, they made investments, but it's absolutely been a surprise team.
And I think like he does something different. I was watching New Heights. Shout out to the Kelsey brothers. I know you guys watch it. No, it's the Kelsey brothers. They do their podcast. They do it weekly. They started it this year. It's really kind of interesting. It's cool because they're coming from the same area as us. So you could tell they're very Cleveland. Jason Kelsey just speaks Cleveland. And then Travis Kelsey speaks Cleveland in a different way. And they were talking about how coaching in the NFL is, like what it is. Like you can't just be an offensive guru.
Like great caller. Right.
Yeah. They say like you can't we want an offensive guru, but we also want somebody to empower us, somebody to lift us up, somebody to keep us motivated. And they're talking about that. And I was real upset to not only because Kelsey plays on this damn team, I didn't hear them mention Serini. And like one of the things that made me like super excited, there's been 2 things now. Before the beginning of the year, my dude rolling around with Jalen Hurts shirt in preseason, just rolling around, walking in his shirt.
It is a great touch.
It's a great touch. It's just so little, but means so much. It's like, I'm in. Yeah. Like, screw what the media is saying about worried about you. Here's my shirt.
Yep.
Small thing. Not only that, he said there was a recent clip from him where he's talking about they were playing. Did they just play Dallas this week? I think they did.
Yeah.
They did?
I believe. Yeah, I think you're right. No. They played Pittsburgh Dallas the week before.
Okay.
Right? Pittsburgh? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe they didn't even play Dallas yet. It was the week before. Yeah. And they played Dallas, and he was talking about like, look, this is what I did last year. Holds up this shirt that says beat Dallas. He's like, I focused on them. I focused on what we're going to do to our opponent. But the reality is I need to focus on us. And like he was just talking about and empowering. And he holds up another shirt. And I think it's Devontae Smith's face at that point. It was Devontae Smith's face. Like the dude just loves doing this. But I was like, hell yeah, dude. Yeah. So I mean, that was a long-winded. If you talk about derailed, there it was. I'm a big fan. I think he's coach of the year, early coach of the year.
Yeah, I love it. That's a good call.
Cody, did you have any last
coach of the year?
The what?
Well, I shouldn't beat up on him because we got to win, but I can tell you who's not coach of the year, and it's Kevin Stefanski.
I know, dude. And like,
I've been so disappointed in Stefanski. It was, but I've been
this was his best coach game.
I loved this hire. I loved this hire, Stefanski. I mean, and man, I've been disappointed.
Best best coaching effort we've seen all season.
Yes, it was. So I shouldn't beat up on him, but like you can't lose that many 3-point games.
No, you can't. The decision making has been so weird. Like why are we going for it on 4th and 3rd on the 27 when we have a 4th round kicker and we have a quarterback that is a journeyman playing better than a journeyman, but a journeyman.
And how many kicks are going to get blocked before you figure it out? It's the NFL.
Oh my God. That's killing Cade York's confidence. We're getting distracted.
Yeah, we are. I'm going to go take my pills now.
Cody, tell me when I'm chopping out because it will happen. The outro is rolling now.
You overthink it.
If you're not already following us on Twitter at DadBodFS, so good.
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. I don't know if you're messing with me. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Go
my God. We'll be posting our videos there. We post them to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Cody, what else?
I never know.
All the major streaming platforms will be posting our podcast and recording of tonight's episode. For myself, for Cody, peace.
The old swag.